And so I think it's very important for people to feel seen and to feel like the work that they've done on themselves, whether intentional or unintentional, is very valuable, and that everybody has value to give in the world. But sometimes we don't realize it because we're so focused on ourselves or our career or our obligations. And
Flowers is such a big part of your work and also the decor in general. I'm a big proponent of sustainability. In all of these weddings, like how many flowers like go wasted, or like after the wedding, what happens to them?
I feel like I'm going to become a villain by saying this. I do care about sustainability. I don't want to destroy the environment. It's also the nature of the business that we're in. We do these massive, massive weddings. All the flowers go directly in the. Some people come in and I can tell that they want to make sure that whoever's attending knows that they've spent a lot on this and put a lot of thought into it. They come in and they're like, I don't really know what colors. And I'm like, listen, don't worry about it. That's my job. So really what I do is you would come in. I just need you to know where you're getting married or where you're having the event. You have to have your venue booked. And this is something very important for people to know. When you are calling and inquiring, if you don't have your venue booked, you actually don't have a date. And I would say, and this is like secret, but
are certain venues more conducive to like making it a lot easier for you to execute versus others, and kind of what makes
yes,
them better? And maybe can
sure.
you explain that a little
Yeah,
bit
I
more?
think this is a great question to address. I'm so happy I get to like say these things out loud for people to like be cognizant of. Booking your venue is actually a very sensitive thing because you need to make sure that the terms will allow you to do what you're actually looking to do with the room itself.
Imagine the fun you'll have at your wedding, one of life's most treasured moments. In each episode, hear from leading wedding professionals as they share with you insider tips and personal advice for a magical wedding. Welcome to the Indian Wedding Podcast. Here to help plan your wedding with style and grace are your hosts, Kunal and Jinal Sampat.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today on the Indian Wedding Podcast. We're really pumped to have you on the show, and I think it's really an honor to have somebody just with so much talent and creativity to be part of this conversation. So thank you for your time and willing to share your story with the world.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the very kind and generous introduction and for having me. I'm really excited, and it's actually a great resource that you've created for people because we don't have many podcasts that are specializing in this niche, and people want to have a resource to look to, but it's very like piecemeal and scattered all over the internet. I try to educate through my platform, but I primarily will post our work. So I think this is a great place to be, and thank you for having me.
Great. So I think before before you joined on the call, I was just browsing through your portfolio, and I'm going to pick on one that I saw, but we don't have to talk about that particular uh, design or work with the Rosé Rivière. Is that the one? Are you familiar? You probably know about it, but I don't know if you know what I'm referencing
Are
to
you looking at the website?
at your website. Yeah.
Okay. Can you describe it to me a little bit? I don't know. I
Uh,
haven't. Okay, admittedly, we
it,
haven't
it
updated the website in a very long time. So I think
I
the last
see.
time was 2019. Well, our kind of like live portfolio is really on Instagram. Pretty soon after doing an event, we'll post content. So if anyone wants like live portfolio of like, what have you done recently? I'm like, you can literally just go browse through our Instagram and it's like chronological almost.
Yeah. So maybe I think the question really would apply to any sort of
Yeah.
endeavor or project that you take on, I would say. But like, how do you like? What does your creative process look like when you first like have a client say, "Oh yes, we would love to work with you. We want to do this. We would love to have you plan our wedding and do all the floral, elaborate work that goes here."
Mhm.
I'd love to like hear about your creative process and that
Sure.
journey from your perspective, and also like from like what are the clients' experience on the other side.
Sure, sure. I was about to ask, I was like, from my brain's perspective or from like the business perspective. So
Yeah.
I'll start first with like what the client experience is and what we hope to be creating. I don't really need the client to know what they want. I think that's a very common misconception. And I have lots of like brides, grooms, or parents who will inquire because maybe the couple's busy doing their residency, whatever it is. And they come in and they're like, I don't really know what colors. And I'm like, listen, don't worry about it. That's my job. So really what I do is you would come in. I just need you to know where you're getting married or where you're having the event. You have to have your venue booked. And this is something very important for people to know. When you are calling and inquiring, if you don't have your venue booked, you actually don't have a date. Even if your family sat down and decided a date, that's not real because you may fall in love with a venue that's not available on the date. So now, in order to get the venue that takes priority for you and your family, you have to change the date. So I can't work off of hypothetical dates. And unless your venue is booked, it's pretty hypothetical because more often than not, the venue does not change. Once you've put that deposit, people are pretty set on like, no, this is when it's going to be. So I need you to have your venue booked. Our events are quite complex, and so I prefer if a client has a planner booked, or if you'd like a recommendation from us on planners that are able to work with our level of design. We're happy to give recommendations of just like planners and individuals and companies that we feel are adept to working at that level of detail. So having a planner is great, but having your venue booked is the first thing. So as long as you've got your date, then we would let you know of our minimums and what services we provide. And if that number works, then we would schedule a design consultation. So what I effectively do here is let people kind of know that you can expect to at least spend this much money. I don't think it's valuable for the client to get on a call and speak for 1 or 2 hours at length and then find out it's way beyond what they're comfortable spending. So we kind of have that as like the first through line. One, your venue has to be booked. Two, you have to be okay with our minimum. If all of that checks out, then we get onto a call to do a discovery call. So really on this call, we don't dive deep into design. I actually ask you questions to build out a shell of your proposal. So as we're on the call, I'm writing out line items and assigning dollar values to each one. And by the time we get to the end of the call, I'm able to give the client an estimate. So this is kind of the part where like my experience or creativity comes in. I've been doing this for 14 years and we do anywhere from I would say like 50 to 70 events a year, depending on the year. I mean, since like COVID, it's been very weird. Sometimes we have a lot, sometimes we have a little. Shockingly, during COVID, we were fine. We made just enough to fulfill our obligations, but it was very busy. So yeah, it just really depends on the year, but we do quite a few events and I can recognize pretty quickly who I'm speaking to on the other line in terms of their temperament and their personality. Some people come in and I can tell that they want to make sure that whoever's attending knows that they've spent a lot on this and put a lot of thought into it. Other people come in and it's not about the dollar amount that they're spending. It's more about, hey, we want it to look very beautiful and elegant when you walk in. They want it to feel a certain way. And it's not about like the dollar. Of course, everybody cares and everybody has a budget, but I can tell what things are going to be important. Do they want very big, flashy things, or do they want things to just feel very secure and intimate and cozy, but they want it to be elevated. So I can usually tell that pretty early on in the call. And so based on that, when I'm building the line items, I'm assigning dollar values for these line items, such as say your escort card display or your seating chart. I think a board type display would work best for this client. The price range for that is between 350 to 750. For just like light embellishment, let me price it at 500 because I know it will give the client options. I never price anything at the lowest price because nobody ever likes that option. Even my lowest option is something that the client's going to be happy with. So when people say, oh, this person's expensive or this person's cheaper, there's always a cheaper option, like if you're going to
Everything.
get, yeah, if you're, I'm very forward. And so even my analogies sometimes are very like crass, but if you were getting toilet paper, a leaf is also an option, or you can get toilet paper. You have options. So is a leaf cheaper? Absolutely. Would you prefer toilet paper? Yes. Do you want to know what varieties of toilet paper you have? Yes. So, you know what I mean? So similarly, in the event industry, it's the same thing. When you have two vendors that say that they're doing the same thing, you are never, ever, ever comparing apples to apples. There are two very big things that comprise hiring someone for a service and what you end up getting. Half of that is the client experience, and the other half of it is the actual execution of the event itself. If you have a terrible client experience, you're getting delayed responses, you're not having meetings, maybe you feel like the person you're speaking to doesn't understand you, they keep giving you options that you're not happy with, that kind of ruins the client experience. But maybe the wedding's really beautiful and it's perfect, but because the client experience wasn't good, then it didn't really matter to you that the wedding was beautiful. You were like, whatever. Or maybe the client experience is actually perfect, but then the execution is not what was discussed. So I think all of these different things play a factor, and I'm thinking of that as I'm on the call with the client to set it up for success, to make sure that the client transparently knows what to expect. So for this reason, on that initial call, I try to keep it within an hour. I would allocate maybe like 20 minutes per event. So if you have 3 events, probably an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. But generally, depending on the client, I'm able to get it done within an hour. So all I'm really asking is, do we need a stage? Do we want a traditional stage on a riser? Do we want to have centerpieces for the reception? Are we looking at head tables? We don't get too deep into what are the colors, what's the theme, what type of vase we're using, none of that. It's just, do we want taller centerpieces? Do we want lower ones? We want a head table, but we want it to be lower profile, but very lush and full, or where we want heavier on candles. So for all these things, based on my experience, I have a pretty general idea of like pricing wise where it's going to land. And also, if I add a little bit more flowers, I know this range is good, but this client really likes something that's glam but understated. So I'm probably going to use crystal candle holders. So then I know this price range is going to give them what they want, even if we fluctuate within it. So by the time we get to the end of the call, I'm able to give the client like a price range. And I would say, and this is like secret, but every client at the end of the call, and by the time we get to the end of the event, they're like, wow, you were right. Usually, whatever number I come up with, I'm usually right within $500. And we're talking, these contracts are like tens of thousands. So if I'm right within $500, is a pretty good
That's
estimation.
pretty cool.
But oftentimes, what happens is I will give that estimate and say, okay, to get, if you walk into the room and it feels this certain way, and to be able to achieve that, my estimate is you need to be within this number to this number. And I usually give like a range, like my computer's saying one thing, but I give like a range of 5 to 10K, depending on where that number is landing. If we're in like 20,000 range, then I would give myself like a buffer of like 5,000. But if we're in the 70, $80,000 range, I would give a $10,000 buffer of like, you can expect between this and this. And I give that number as a litmus test. The speed with which you respond and whether or not you flinch when you respond tells me whether or not you're comfortable. If you don't flinch at all at that number and you're like, yeah, we can consider that, that's good. So then I know, okay, we can take the next step. So the next step actually would be, I give them this proposal and I'll put in sample photos of like, okay, within this price range, you can get something like this. Again, sample photos are not indicative of this is your color palette, this is what you want. I haven't designed anything. This is just so that way when you talk numbers, you can see something and be like, okay, I can get something to this level of fullness at this price point. Just for that. I like doing business this way because it's very transparent. Client knows exactly what to expect spending with me, and it's not we're shooting in the dark. After years and years of doing this, I think what happens, and also with like globalization and so much information being available on the internet, people seeing photos of weddings, they have no idea what anything costs. And I think for the life of me, people will never stop asking and send a picture and be like, how much does this room cost? It's not like that. It's like you can't just give a price. It's I think the best analogy would be you can't walk into a grocery store and say and if there's a greeter, be like, "Hey, how much does a chicken pot pie cost?" It's really analogous to that. And let me explain. The reason you can't ask how much does a chicken pot pie cost is for the intuitive reason that, well, what kind do you want? You can go to the frozen aisle and get a $2.39 Marie Callender's, or Do you want to make it from scratch? Is it partial scratch or full scratch? Like, do you want the dough and the yeast? Or there's pre-made pie crust and you can buy all the vegetables. You see what I'm saying? Every single wedding, even if it seems like, oh yeah, well, my wedding is just going to be the same as theirs, it never is. I do all these weddings every year. It's never the same formula, ever, ever, ever. Everyone's guest count is different. Everyone's venue is different. The ceiling height is different. Whether or not you're going to have a riser is different. Your layout of the room is different based on the size of the room. You can't have the same layout. So then the stage picture that you wanted to quote on can't be the same. So, like, it's better, instead of getting into all those variables in this first call, that first we figure out, what are you even comfortable spending? And if what you're comfortable spending aligns with what I need to be able to deliver what I'm promising I'm going to deliver, then this is a match and this can work. And if you feel like I understand you on that first call, then this is a match and this can work. So I will send them the proposal, and then it'll have that price range, and I'll have photo references for them. And then based on that, we can do like another call just to review the proposal together. They can ask questions. And I would say 90% of the time, every single client that gets a proposal books. Because we've already done so much like vetting. They already are good with our minimum. They already know who we are through reputation or through other people recommending us. They've had a consultation now. They also know dollar-wise what to expect. It may be to our detriment, I don't know, but almost most planners that I work with, they all say that I'm the most transparent from the beginning when it comes to numbers. But we also do lose a lot of business because people will come to us and I'll give them numbers, and then my numbers seem very high compared to other people maybe that they're getting quotes from. But what happens is they go with the other person because the numbers seem lower, and then all those other things get added on. Whereas from the beginning, I asked all the questions to know what they're going to need, and I already priced it at a number that I feel was realistic for what they would be happy with. And I've had a lot of clients actually come back, which was still very nice, come back and send us an email and be like, hey, we hope you're doing well. We still follow you on Instagram. We did end up going with someone else, but we wish we would have worked with you because we ended up spending the same amount of money, but we weren't as happy with the result, which makes me really sad because, of course, I wish I could have done it too. But by the time you find out, it's too late. So, yeah, I think transparency to me is very important. I think for clients is very important, especially in an industry where you don't have price stickers on everything. So I try to be as transparent as possible with that. But yeah, that's kind of like a amalgamation of my mental process through the consultation process and also like the client experience. So then once they put down a deposit, then we schedule a design meeting. Then they would come in and meet with us in person, and that's where we actually design. So every single line item, we stay within the parameters of the number that I've assigned and do options and come up with, okay, what are we getting within this price point? Let's actually design it. So we do all the design in that meeting. And then I have another service called room design and experience curation. So that's if you don't just want me to do the stage and the centerpieces. I would say 98% of our clients pay for this service, and that's why they hire us. They want me to design everything. So they want me to select the tables, chairs, linens, glassware, flatware, china, what the lighting's going to look like, what the dance floor wrap looks like, what the layout of the room is. And so if they get that package through us, then we do a secondary meeting where we iron out all those details. So I'll design out what the linen colors should be for all the different tables, cocktail table, guest table, coffee table, sweetheart table, cake table, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a very like hands-on process from start to finish. And I think we do a good job.
Yeah. So some of
Yeah.
the things you mentioned about like like the we were talking about the linens, or like just the
Mm-hmm.
uh like the cost that's driven by, I guess, the so I think my question was mostly around, like, are certain venues more conducive to like making it a lot easier for you to execute versus others, and kind of what makes
Yes,
them better, and maybe can you
sure.
like explain that a little bit
Yeah, I
more?
think this is a great question to address. I'm so happy I get to like say these things out loud for people to like be cognizant of. Booking your venue is actually a very sensitive thing because you need to make sure that the terms will allow you to do what you're actually looking to do with the room itself. You may have very big grand ideas of what you want to do, but the terms under which you booked your venue or property may not allow for you to do it. So if you're looking at doing something like ceiling installations or flowers hanging from the ceiling or lights or anything like that, Usually, an install like that will require that it begins the day before. In order for it to begin the day before, the venue has to not be booked the day before. Or that is something that could be done overnight, not preferable, but maybe the room is available after 8 p.m. So we need to know with a surety that 8 p.m. the day prior, the room is available for install. And then there's multiple key players that would do that install. Part of it would come from the venue, part of it would come from other vendors, but you wouldn't know any of this as a client unless you book a planner or a designer that can guide you through that. You just wouldn't know it. You just be like, oh yeah, we booked the venue. They give us 2 hours. To you, 2 hours may seem like a lot, but it's not. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to even unload trucks and get into a space. If we're working, so I'm based out of DC, we do travel, but for example, if we have historic properties in the city that we're working in, because they're historic properties, even if they do renovations, they're not renovating like the back galleys. And so the aisle pathway, we're usually coming from the loading dock through the kitchen, and the aisles are very, very narrow. And there's like one elevator, and the freight elevator is like an 8 by 9. So you can only fit certain things in the elevator. So that then exponentially increases your unload time.
Time, yeah.
So yeah, so for me, I prefer, again, because our installs are quite complex and very layered, and there are a lot of different people that this person has to do this, then this can happen, then that person has to do that, then this could happen. They're all dependent on each other. The dominoes have to be in a row. But in order for that to happen, I like to have 5 to 6 hours. One, because unload can take anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours. And then towards the end of an event, when we're finishing the install, I like to have 45 minutes to an hour to clean up and do finishing touches. I have like 70% of the team that's clearing out the room, cleaning up and taking everything to put in a holding room. Having a holding room at a venue is very useful on the same floor. Just a room to be able to put boxes in for the interim of the event. So that way, once the event concludes, they can grab the boxes from there and begin repacking everything to take back to the truck. Having to go back to the loading dock through elevators and 3 hallways and another 2 elevators exponentially increases the time. So for the client, this also increases labor costs, especially if your venue has a limitation that like, hey, you have to be done in an hour. So having a venue that has a holding space that's big enough, that's not and having an actual size freight elevator. I think for the client, you don't have to worry about a freight elevator, but I think having 5 to 6 hour lead time for install is good because 1 to 2 hours is gone in just unloading, and another hour. I'm sorry, my parrot's next to me, so you might hear a sound. It's because he wants to be in the conversation.
You
But
can bring him in
I
if you
would say
want.
about, huh?
If you can bring him in if you want. Is it a parrot? Did you say?
Oh yeah, yeah. You
Okay.
wanna come, Baba? As soon as I open the door, he's like, okay, he's coming down. I am gonna put him back because he knows when I'm distracted on a call, he can go like wreak havoc in my kitchen. He will, if I left him alone, he would shred the fruit bowl and make it look like ground beef. It would just be completely shredded. Then he goes to the sink. If he doesn't get attention, he throws the glasses off the counter. He just, But I love him though. Here he is. Everybody say hello. This
Hello.
is
Oh,
this is
parrot.
Jimmy. He's my
Okay.
baby. He's my
I
little
did not
baby.
expect that.
Look at him. I'm gonna
Oh,
show him off.
that's
He has
so
red feathers on
cool.
the inside and these gorgeous turquoise feathers
Oh
on the
my God,
outside.
that's gorgeous. We have
So
chickens,
pretty.
so I feel
Oh
you.
really? Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah, but I think for a client to look for 5 to 6 hours of install time, a lot of venues have been trying to give like 2 hours, which is really
Not
not
enough.
real.
Yeah.
Not
Five to
enough
So
six
for,
for
hours of
setup.
install time and a holding room is great.
Must.
she's talked about like booking the venue in advance, but now like they've booked the venue, but now they don't have enough setup time. So how does that?
So
Exactly.
that's why people should have a planner. I think a lot of people don't. So I don't do planning. I don't think I would touch planning with a 100 foot pole. I don't want to do it. It's not my favorite job ever. I don't want to be responsible for other people not doing their job. I can take responsibility for my people not doing their job, which isn't going to happen. But I don't want to be responsible for other vendors not showing up or a client booking someone thinking they're good without telling you, and then you have to deal with the repercussions that day and the client's not happy. I will leave that to the planners. I think this isn't my realm, but it is because I work with planners. I think people don't understand how important it is to have a planner. Like, would you go build a house off of watching YouTube videos and TikToks? No. You would hire an architect and a builder who know how to do it so they can do the electrical and the plumbing correctly. You tell them what you want to do, and then you find the right architect to build this. And a lot of planners, actually, there's a difference between the South Asian market and the non South Asian market. In the non South Asian, I mean, I've been in this industry now 14 years. I've noticed in the kind of like Desi South Asian market, uh, you have some planners that are also designers, but for the most part, the planners are very advanced logistics runners. So they handle all of the logistics and behind the scenes to make, and they have the timelines to make sure everything goes smoothly. And they're really, I work with some really incredible individuals that are so dedicated to making sure the client gets what they want and what they need. But in the non-South Asian industry, I've noticed a lot of planners are designers. So they actually design the entire feel and vibe for the space, what it's going to look like, table, chairs, linens, floor plan, all of that. So I think as I grew in my career, I noticed that gap. And so that's why I started providing that as a service where I would select everything in a room. I didn't think it was fair to go and drop off these beautiful flowers on the center of a table on like a poly cotton linen with like stretch spandex chair covers. And I'm like, why did you do that? You spent so much money with me, but like, why did you do that? And they
Do
didn't get
that, yeah.
lighting in the room. And I'm like, why did you do that? But some clients just genuinely don't know that that's even an option, that you can get lighting, that you can get linens. Where do you get it from? That's why I started offering it as an
I
option.
see.
But what I want to say is people really need to book a wedding planner. It is tough to know whether or not somebody's a good wedding planner or does a good job because you have really nothing to go off of. You just see beautiful photos. And so, how do beautiful photos tell you whether or not a planner is good at logistics? So, I would highly recommend speaking to friends and their personal experience, but keeping in mind that personalities are different. You know, some people's personalities and the way that they are type A works for other people who are type A. Some people need a bit more hand holding. So, I would say speaking to friends if they got wedding planners and knowing and understanding your friend's temperament and what kind of planner they work with and whether or not that works for you. You can be friends with someone. It doesn't mean that the vendor that they book is a good fit for you. I've had a lot of clients say, we heard you were very expensive, but we wanted to call anyway because we really liked your work. Expensive is a very ambiguous term. $5,000 could be expensive for someone and $100,000 could be expensive for someone. The range is infinite. So I think it's important to find people that you feel like you click with. And I think it's extremely important to hire a wedding planner because they can help you through the process. You don't know what you don't know. That's why you hire a professional to help you pick a venue. I can't stress that. I've had so many situations where people picked venues that were totally wrong for what it is that they needed to do. And they're like, yeah, but we told the venue we had 500 guests and we're doing a reception. I said, yeah, but you didn't tell them that you're Desi and you do a stage and you need a 24-foot wide by 16-foot footprint for the riser for the stage. And then you're going to need a 40 by 40 dance floor and you're going to have head tables. Oh, well, I told them it's a reception. Yeah, but they don't know what you want in your reception. You don't even know what to tell them that you want in the reception, but the
Hmm.
planner does.
Planner
If you
does.
if you have a planner on your side, but people don't realize this and they just book the venue and they're like, "Yeah, well the hall's big enough for 800 people and we only have 600." Yeah, but you didn't account for the size of your dance floor and you didn't account for the fact that it can fit 600 but in a split room. So now half your guests are in a different room. What are you going to put a projector there? Everybody in that room is going to hate you and be like, why'd you invite us and put us in a separate room with a projector? We could have been at home and like zoomed into the wedding. You see what I'm saying? So hiring a planner for full service is very important. I know a lot of planners offer partial or month of. I don't think any planners actually like doing partial or month of. Very rare. You know why? When you do partial and month of planning, all you're doing is making very big problems and as the client, and then the month of your wedding when that planner comes, they're spending all their time trying to fix the problems that you made.
Exactly. It's
My
a
I'm
God,
being
really a
honest.
losing.
I'm
that
It's a
can
just
be a
losing
being
disaster.
proposition.
honest.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just
so,
being honest.
so
And
I
then
plan corporate events, as one of my things that I work on, and I agree with you 100%. Like just
thanks. I
the
feel
day
very harsh
of
saying it out loud, but it's true.
But I
is
think
true.
people need
Yeah.
to hear that. Like either hire like all the way in or don't hire,
Yeah, don't
right?
Yeah,
hire.
full service or
Yeah,
Full
or
partial
service.
planning.
DIY.
The month of thing needs to just
Listen, yeah,
die.
And also the
And I
day
think a
of.
lot of planners do it because they're like, it's better for somebody to have something than nothing. But I know a lot of planners that just completely took it off the table because they're like, it's actually ridiculous because we're not positioned for success. Why would you pay somebody
That's exactly
thousands of
right.
dollars and actually make their job difficult? And
difficult.
then what
Yeah,
happens is also many planners who take these jobs and they'll offer month of, not only do they do their best to solve the issues, but then
Yeah.
the day of, when things crumble, everything becomes the planner's fault. And the planner did everything they could, but like actually the problems were just so big and they
big.
kept getting worse that it's really not the planner's fault that the day of things went bad, but you put them in that position. And then the planner takes the fall for it. To some degree, yeah, of course, like the planner could instinctually take care of things better. But when you overwhelm somebody with 63 problems instead of 17, there is going to be failure. And is it really that planner's fault? How much can you blame the planner for it? It's actually, it should have been partial planning, and as a client you needed that support. And I think that's where it becomes difficult for some people to understand that. They're like, well, if we have a planner in their experience, they should be able to problem solve all of it. Yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't work that way. They're still
Yeah.
human. So you want to set them up for success and you want to start that in the beginning. I would say when the first thing you should do after you get engaged is actually make a guest list realistically of how many people you're going to have. And then after that, find your wedding planner. After you make a guest list and you know how many guests you have, then everything else the wedding planner can help you with. Based on your guest list, how many events do you want to have? That's probably also good information to know. Okay, we're going to do a haldi, we're going to do a ceremony, we're going to do a reception, general
Yeah.
area of where you want to hold it, what state you want to hold it, is city or not city, home or not home. And then call your planner and then be like, hey, we're looking for a planner. Do you think, ask the planner, do you think we need full service or do you offer partial planning? Because we kind of have an idea of the venues we want. We just don't know if they're going to work. We have an idea of the vendors we want, but it'll be helpful for you to have the planners look over the contracts to make sure that you don't have overlapping services from different people. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm talking a lot about like the planners part. I just really feel strongly about people getting a good planner, to have a good creative partner and like project manager. Yeah, because one of the biggest parties you're ever going to throw is your wedding, and all the money that you're spending, it costs you more money when you have inexperienced people running it. It just does. So hire the right team and then you can actually enjoy it.
Enjoy
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Janelle, you want to go? I'll let you. I know you haven't
Yeah, this
asked, so
was
go.
really interesting because I think she said a lot of things without us even asking, so which is really helpful. So I need to like we came up with some interesting questions for you, but I think you've been answering them.
Oh,
Anyways,
great.
so I wanted to take you back to like your early days, of
Mm-hmm.
studying economics and international trade
Uh-huh.
before starting like Sarah Khan event styling. How did you make your leap into florals and event design?
I don't know. I always liked making and building things. It always interested me. If I don't know, if I saw something beautiful, I would always look at it and wonder, how did it become that way? What about it do I find intriguing? What about it makes me want to stare at it and figure it out? Um, I think this is actually a way of thinking. I feel like you don't learn creativity. I think creativity is more of an act of courage and being confident in thinking your thoughts are worth it, to say out loud or maybe to do out loud. I think everybody is creative, but displaying it comes in different ways. It's really someone else's perception. I don't think I'm creative. I think I just do what I want to do. But for other people, they're like, wow, you're so creative. And I'm like, I don't know. For me, I've always liked making things and building things. My nani and me, my maternal grandmother, my mom, my chala, my mom's sister, um, they all had this in them too, and I think instilled from my grandmother. She always loved making things and building things, and I come from a very, I guess, like poetic background also. She looked at things in a very romanticized way. I think that's also part of our culture. Our culture is very romanticized. Bollywood, the artisanship in our clothing. We love beautiful things. Like it's even down to like a cooking ware, serveware. We have like hammered brass pots. Like we care about presentation and food and layers, and it's just part of us. And I was born and raised in the US, but like I don't know, through my family and the ladies in my family,
That's
I think I
inspiring.
developed a lot of depth, and I was always curious, and I wanted to be connected to our roots. I've never been to India, so I'm half and half. I'm Hyderabadi from my both mom and dad side, but during the partition, my maternal grandfather, he moved to Pakistan. So my mom and all of her siblings were born in Karachi in Pakistan. And so my grandmother, she was from Hyderabad, from like a very affluent family. And so she moved to Karachi after getting married. So had all of her kids there. But I think internally she was always very, she claimed her identity as a Pakistani, but she was always very also Hindustani and Hyderabadi when it came to food and culture, because she grew up in that. She was a master's in Urdu literature, and I think that's also why she had an affinity towards very romanticized things. So she taught me how to like cook and do embroidery, and we always built things in the house together with my mom and her. And so I don't know, it was just always in me
That's
to build
awesome.
things, and I like that. Can you hear me?
But yeah, what a
Yeah.
gift you're
Yeah.
sharing with everybody. Like what a gift you're sharing, like all the talent and everything to make someone's wedding day so special. I mean, that's a gift
Yeah,
to
I never thought of
everybody.
it that way,
Yeah.
but like I think
Yeah.
it's a very unique art that it's turned into. Like I always just liked making and building things, and through like different life circumstances, somehow I landed on doing wedding decor and design. And I was never formally trained in doing floral at all. I actually had no idea how to do floral arrangements at all. I knew more about gardening than cut flowers. They're two very different things. And actually, with time, I just learned based on things that I wanted to do. I would just play around with it, and I learned. And yeah, then it's turned into this thing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, Sarah. So thinking about like flowers, flowers is such a big part of your work and also the decor in general. I'm a big proponent of sustainability. In all of these weddings, like how many flowers like go wasted or like after the wedding, what happens to them? So I wanted to ask your thoughts on sustainability in event design in particular, and things like using reusable decor or like using seasonal flowers to minimize waste, or something on that lines. Like what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
So, as much as we do want to make things sustainable, uh, we kind of live in a world, and I think also, I think everybody with the political world, and I mean, economics, even though that was like my degree, economics is essentially the study of human behavior and how it affects currency and money. Really, that's what it is. It's partly sociology, anthropology, and the money world. But sustainability actually is, there are always ways to do it, but it's extremely difficult in this country because the nature of how we do our business dealings within this country are so heavily dependent on imports. No matter how hard you try, the supply chain to some degree is always affected by imports or gasoline or transport. Uh, the most sustainable wedding you can have is like a Zoom one, you know.
Actually,
I love it. I
yeah,
but
love it. Yeah, I always tell
but
Janelle, like when we get on a plane, you're already being non-sustainable. Like
on a
the amount of,
sustainable.
yeah, I mean
yeah,
that is
like
the
we can
act of,
buy local flowers. There are ways to do things, but like, look, I can buy flowers from local farms. You also have to pick and choose what's important to you, how much money you're spending, or sustainability. Okay, I can buy flowers from a local farm, but the local farm doesn't have the quantity that I need to fulfill the design that we came up with. Local farms can supply me with beautiful things, but they only have, like, if, for example, when I buy flowers, I'll need 3,000 of one rose and 8,000 of another and 10,000 of this and 2,000 of this. But I go to a local farm, they're like, okay, we can give you 133 stems of this and 276 of this. Like, what am I going to do with that? Wipe my tears in the brides? Like, it doesn't give me what I need. So then as a client, you also have to be flexible that, okay, we'll get, local flowers for this part and we'll do candles for the rest. Okay. But then the candles are getting shipped to me from Canada because I'm buying thousands of candles and they're coming from, so we save money there. But then now we're doing that.
Spending money on
So,
Right.
I think having a smaller wedding, I guess, makes it more sustainable. Um, Having fewer events could make it sustainable. I think for me, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to become a villain by saying this. I do care about sustainability. I don't want to destroy the environment. It's also the nature of the business that we're in. We do these massive, massive weddings. All the flowers go directly in the trash. So rather than, I don't know, don't kill me. I'm trying. I'm trying the best I can in the ways that I can. But I've kind of shifted my focus from, and this doesn't mean other people should stop trying their efforts of being sustainable. I do think it's important to think about these things and do what you can in whatever way you can. And I think all of us need to do that. I've kind of shifted my focus from finding sustainable ways to do what we do to what can I do that can be helpful to other people that had nothing to do with this wedding after the event with the materials that are left over? Because I have to get the candles I have to get. I have to get the flowers that I have to get. We also are further and further coming into a situation where we are very constrained on numbers and our profit margins. I mean, I hired an independent company to come in and look at our finances from 2019 to now, just for fun. It wasn't fun when I got the numbers back. Our expense overall has increased by 40% from 2019 to now on every job that we take. That's wild. 40%. During COVID, there were a lot of farms that closed, which made supply demand kind of go out of control. And then the prices never went down. And then during COVID, prices went up, prices never went down across the board. So, we can't control it. The cost of living is so high that actually finding labor has become difficult, even if we pay what people want. I can't fault people for asking for more money because even the money that they're making is not enough for them to actually have a decent living. They need more. So, but like as a business, you also can't be the sole person responsible. The government has to also help with that. The government has to take responsibility. But if the government keeps shoving everything onto small businesses, but we don't have the space to charge more all around, I mean, I guess this is my economics part of my brain, but all around we run into a very terrible situation. I started this business because I want to make beautiful experiences for people, but it's not the client's issue that on the back end, this is what we're working with. So what I've done is, and then on top of that, be like, oh, how are we going to be sustainable? I don't know right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I will say what I try to do is after every event, many of our clients have out of town guests. And so many of them don't take flowers home. And we have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of flowers left over. Typically, we would just take them all and throw them in the trash. They're not compostable because they actually have so many pesticides on them. That's why they look perfect.
Oh,
That's why
yes.
all the flowers look
I
so
had no
perfect.
idea. That's
Yeah.
insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People,
At
yeah,
least
people love to be
compost
like,
will
oh,
help.
can we give it to a nursing home? Oh, let's redo them and give them to a children's cancer center. Actually, a lot of them don't allow it because they have pesticides, because people have allergies. So, what can you do? So, what I started doing is every Monday, Tuesday, I also don't have time and we don't have like the extra dollar to assign for me to hire people to come and make arrangements because then that would
Right.
be another hit that we're taking. I'm doing my best to make sure we can fulfill our obligations to our clients and everybody who works here is also taken care of financially where they have a good, decent living. And again, we can run the business and fulfill our obligations. So what I started doing is on like Monday, Tuesday, I'll be like, hey guys, if anyone wants to come and pick up free flowers, kind of. You can come and pick up whatever flowers you want, but you have to make a donation to X organization. I don't care how much money you give. but you have to give some. So I will pick different orgs that are in like desperate, immediate, time sensitive need. Maybe like a flood that happened. Like recently, there was a flood in Punjab. I haven't done one yet, but the floods in Pakistan or like Gaza, Palestine. There's a family that needs money for a water truck. I'm trying to hit $600. Come and pick up whatever you want. Everybody just give money at this link. So I'll do things like that.
I love it.
Sustainability is important, but I try to find a way to give back in a way from the business. But yeah.
That's a smart way to do it for the resources you want to put in.
We're trying,
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's never enough, but it's better to do something and do it regularly and continuously than to do nothing. So,
Nothing. Absolutely.
and hopefully we're able to do more.
So I want to be mindful to your time.
It's
Kunal,
okay.
do
I
you
can stretch
have?
Yeah.
to
Do you
probably
want to?
another like
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Uh,
We can go to like 2:45 if we need to.
yeah. Okay. I think last couple questions, maybe we get to it. So let me see. So we talked about like some people can afford your services and then they sign up and go ahead and work with you. But what about like people that cannot? How can they still have an amazing experience? Like, what should they be doing
Sure.
if you had any advice there?
I've been toying with this idea for a little bit, and I think in 2026, I'm just gonna launch it. So I've messed with it a little bit in the past. I was thinking of offering blocks of time that people can book just to do a consult with me for basically like insight, like, hey, we're out in Oklahoma and we want to do this big bad wedding, but we don't really know where to start and we want to design it, but these are the things we want to do. Like, what do we even do? How do we even start? And so it would just, you would buy time in blocks of time, so it would just be like a 1 hour call or something, and then you can give me questions in advance and I will have answers for all those questions. And then when we get on the call, we can discuss them, or I can give you the answers in advance by email. And then when we get on the call, we can elaborate and you can ask another set of questions. But that way, you can get very thorough expert insight into how to approach your wedding or event. I'm not quite sure yet if I want to do remote design. Because I like to see a project from start to finish. And so I feel kind of like I just left people hanging. I can give you a design board, but I feel like naturally people be like, oh, well, I can't find a vendor that's local that'll have this. Can you give me alternatives? I don't want to have to cut people off. I like to see something through to completion. So I don't know if I'm going to do remote design as a service, but I do think it's helpful. I have had clients in the past where they just came in and they just did like 1 hour consult with me for their wedding. It was a much smaller scale wedding, and so it didn't meet our minimum, but I was able to guide them of like, okay, you want to hire this type of person and this type of person and do this sort of a timeline. And I would keep your design very simple. You can find a local florist and I would ask them for X, Y, and Z things. And yeah, and it's very like, for me, it's very easy because doing just like an overall general outline for a smaller wedding is so easy because we do way bigger ones. So the call, I mean, I've had really great feedback from those clients and they're like, wow, this was super informative. I didn't even think about those things. So yeah, I think because I see there's help there for people and value there for people, I think it's something worth doing. So I think for the coming year, it's something that I may offer.
Yeah.
Not may offer, I will offer.
I mean, sometimes like I've seen like when we were planning like your brother's wedding in India, it was not here, it was in India. The venue had like a catalog of designs, we
Mhm.
were like they just showed us a catalog of designs like, okay, these are the stage
Yeah.
designs. Can you pick one? And we picked one and it turned out okay, for what we
Yeah.
wanted at that time, that was years ago. So I don't know if they do that in the US, like just like the
They
venue
do that
sharing.
in the
Yeah,
US. I think
I see.
we
Yeah,
we don't do that, but I think
yeah.
people are used to that format.
I
But I
see.
tell people this too. I tell clients if they do a consult with me, at the
Yeah.
end of the call, I ask them, I say, okay, have you spoken to anybody? And they're like, no, you're our first person, you are our first choice. And then I tell them, okay, if I feel like they're a good fit, and I feel confident about the call, then I just say to them, okay, well, I'm going to send this proposal over. I don't even ask them if they've asked other people. But generally, if I can tell that they're unsure and they don't really know things, they're not familiar with things, then I ask them, have you spoken to other people? And if I feel like minimum wise, it's not going to work, or if I feel like what they need actually isn't as detailed as me, and if I can tell that decor isn't that important to them, there's no reason to spend our kind of money, because there are people that can do it for much less. And there are some people that, like in Urdu or Hindi, you would just say, "Bas kaam chalana hai," like you just need to get it done.
Done,
So,
yeah.
but nobody comes to me for kaam chalana. People come to me because they really care about the details of decor.
Wedding.
So I tell the client that, you should talk to a few different people to explore and see what's a good fit for you. But nobody books us because we're less expensive than somebody else. I think it's a very honest answer, but that's probably also the most elegant way to say, if you compare us to other people, it's not going to be because we're cheaper that you book us. Nobody does. Everybody books us not because of the number, but because they feel like I understand them best and I'll be able to
Yeah.
display them best, right, in the best light, and be able to translate who they are through a visual experience. But there are people who do that and it works. Some people literally, they just want something that looks good to get the
Yeah.
job done. But there are plenty of people that do it.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for that. Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else, Janelle? I think those were all my questions. We'll link your website and your Instagram in the show notes. Is there any other place you want people to find you?
I think Instagram's good. I think Instagram is pretty much like our live, our live feed of everything that's happening. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a deeper last question. Maybe and maybe Janelle has something. Like, how do you want people to remember you? Like, as an
People who
individual
watch the podcast or just in general?
in general,
Oh man, it's a very
about it,
personal question.
about your
Um,
life's work, or yeah, just maybe there's a certain thing that you feel like
I love
um,
that.
I
like you're on
I
a
would
mission.
hope
Hmm.
I would hope that their I would hope that their interaction with me made them feel important or special, and I would hope that maybe, I don't know. I don't spend much time thinking about what other people think about me, but I would hope that I am able to give them a moment where they're able to reflect on themselves and feel good about themselves, or feel like they're special. I feel like I do that a lot through my wedding work. But I have a few other businesses that I'm starting and launching the coming year, where I really want to focus on people doing inner work. I feel like my job is actually very emotional, despite it being wedding related. Um, I help people see themselves in a way that they want to be seen, but maybe aren't seen. I explain to all of my clients, especially the parents of the couple, that when people walk into the room, whether it's the reception ceremony, any of your events, when people walk into the space, I want them to walk in and be like, oh, this is so, the Patel family. This is so the Malhotra family. This is so them. It should feel like a visual hug from your family or from the couple. We're creating a visual experience of who you are as a person or as a family. And that's a very specific art in and of itself, to create something that's intangible into a tangible experience. And so I think it's very important for people to feel seen and to feel like the work that they've done on themselves, whether intentional or unintentional, is very valuable, and that everybody has value to give in the world. But sometimes we don't realize it because we're so focused on ourselves or our career or our obligations, and also living in a very kind of material, capitalistic, consumerist society. A lot of our focus is on the things, and even with Instagram ads, you think so much about the things you're going to buy. And I want people to have value in things that are intangible. And a lot of the intangible value comes in spending time with someone, or how you can make them feel seen in the time that you spend together. So I don't know, I would hope that any interaction that people have with any of my museum work, my artwork, or the weddings or events that we do, that it gives them some time to think about themselves and reflect and be like, you know what? I like that this happened and it made me think about this. And when I go home, I want to take some time for myself. And I've always wanted to do this particular, I don't know, class, like a watercolor class. I'm going to do it. Even if I'm bad at it, I'm going to do it because it's something that I want to do. And I want to fulfill that promise to myself. So I hope I inspire people in ways to pursue things that give them happiness and also know that everybody has something to give to someone else to kind of further that happy feeling.
That's great. Thank
That's
you for sharing.
profound. I could keep listening to this. Yeah, but I think
Oh, thanks.
I totally resonate with that thought that you have. It is intangible, but still so profound. Like it doesn't have
Yeah,
words. Yeah, got it.
it
That's an
runs
awesome
everything
end.
about us and
I
it
love that.
runs the world.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially
Kunal,
when I see some of the videos, Kunal is yeah,
frozen.
he's frozen.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about your answer. I mean,
I
some
know.
of the videos
I was like, he's really still thinking about it. Maybe I need to explain a little bit more. Not clear.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe
I'm
some
with you
connection
guys.
issue. But yeah,
I,
that was great. I'm gonna text him just to make sure he's still there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Janelle, if you want to, I
but this
think
is
we're
nice. That was actually a very deep question. Um,
Yeah, I think that's the why, right? What makes you do things that you do? Like at the end of the day, we all are in this race and we forget the end goal. Like how
yeah,
what's the end goal? Like the wedding is over, everybody's there in their house, they go to the next wedding. But what happens in
yeah,
between? You know?
yeah. The
Like we forget
connections
like so
really make
many
people
weddings
feel.
we go to. Like my cousin, she spent like a lot of money on the wedding. But 10 years now, I don't remember the flowers she had or like the decor she had.
Yeah.
I just remember the time we had when we were.
Yeah, I was saying guests remember two things and two things only. And those two things are either how they felt that they were so well taken care of, and things were very thoughtful and intentional that made it enjoyable for them, and how the second one being how inconvenient things were and difficult at the wedding and how unaccommodating they were. So if you do a ceremony outside because you just want it to be outside, and you don't consider that it's 87 degrees and it's a morning Hindu ceremony at 10 a.m. and people are seated outside, they don't really care how much you think that the scenery is beautiful because they're baking for an hour and a half, right? And they're going to remember that. They're not going to remember the
Exactly.
scenery. They're going to remember that you made them come to a desi wedding and wear desi clothes outside and their makeup melted and there wasn't even a fan and there wasn't any shade and there wasn't sunglasses and then they were stilettos in the grass and they didn't know they were going to be in the grass. They knew it was outside but not in the grass. So like you see what I'm saying? They will remember every way in which they were inconvenienced during the wedding. So you having and that's also why the centerpieces, I mean, from my perspective, even though that's the business I'm in, they actually don't matter. What matters is how did we make people feel like we were so happy that they came to join us? And the way that you show that is by making sure they're taken care of and knowing how to prioritize your guest experience over, I don't know, like hanging flowers off the end of the chair. I'm like a very big proponent of making the space beautiful, but I'm an even bigger proponent of being practical and functional. Because that's what people are going to remember. People aren't going to remember me and my flowers. They might, but they're going to remember more how mad they were.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
the guest
When things
experience
don't
has to
work
get
out.
prioritized.
Yeah, people always remember the mistakes. That is something I think we both talk about also. People don't remember like the the
Overlooking the guest
the
experience.
food, the best food you had or whatever, but if something is wrong, they'll definitely remember that.
Yeah.
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 Right, Kunal? Do
yeah,
you
that's absolutely correct. People always want
Okay.
to remember how we made them feel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's really about how you made them feel. All of it. It's the intangible, but making it a tangible experience. It's the tough part. It's a very special industry. I'm very fortunate and grateful to work with some amazing, amazing people, and I learn a lot from the people that I work with. So yeah.
Great.
That's
Well, thank you
awesome.
so much for your time. I don't want you to be late for your meeting. Janelle, anything
No,
else?
it's okay.
Thank you so much. No, I think this was an amazing, amazing conversation with Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me and giving me space to do this. Best of luck. There's some really great people in the industry that you guys have talked with, spoken with, and given insight. And I'm sure this is going to be so valuable for the people who get to follow along with your guys' journey.
Great. Thank
Yeah,
you. Have
that's
a
the
good
goal.
day.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
that's.
much, Sarah.
If you've enjoyed watching this episode and learned something new, please consider subscribing to the Indian Wedding Podcast. You can also sign up for the Indian Wedding Podcast's monthly email newsletter for more exclusive content and personalized offers. To sign up, click on the link in the description below or notes on our website, indianweddingpodcast.com. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Indian Wedding Podcast. For more exclusive time and money-saving tips, head over to somepotjewelers.com/podcast.